Population refers to the group of people that we want information about, and a sample refers to the part of the population that we take out to examine and draw conclusions from. My name is Aman, and this video is brought to you by Psychologic. In this video, we will be looking upon the different methods of obtaining a sample. But first, let us understand what is biased sample or sampling bias. Sampling bias occurs when one or more parts of the population are favored over another. For example, if I'm an introvert, I would only choose my friends to research upon as my samples. Now, that would bring some obvious biasness, like if I'm conducting a research upon my university. Now understand this, my sample is not representing our entire population. It's just a bunch of my friends. हमें सैम्पल्स ऐसे चूज करने पड़ेंगे जो हमारे पॉपुलेशन को एक्यूरेटली रिप्रेजेंट करे. So let us understand some of these sampling techniques. So broadly, there are two main types of sampling methods: probability sampling and non-probability sampling. For that, we need to understand what probability is. Probability is number of favorable outcomes upon total number of outcomes. In probability sampling, every member of the population has a known and non-zero chance of being selected. For example, if I have to select any one person out of these 15 people, so the chance of one person to be selected would be 1 upon 15. What do I mean by that? Now here, the total number of favorable outcome was 1 because I'm choosing one person out of these 15 people. So what's the total number of outcome? The total number of outcome, that is 15. And out of those 15, we need to select any one. So the chance of every one person to be selected would be 1 upon 15. So in probability sampling, every member of the population has a known and non-zero chance of being selected. This method provides a more representative and unbiased sample of the population. It also allows for the calculation of statistical measures such as margin of error and confidence intervals. Talking about non-probability sampling, in non-probability sampling, the chance of any particular member of the population being chosen is unknown and may be zero. मतलब इससे पहले probability sampling में हमें पता था कि अगर हम ये 15 लोगों को एज पॉपुलेशन ले रहे हैं, तो हर एक के सेलेक्ट होने के चांसेस 1/15 थे और उससे कम हो ही नहीं सकते. इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल फॉर देम टू बी लेसर देन दैट. लेकिन इन प्रोबेबिलिटी सैम्पलिंग, फॉर एग्जांपल, हमने ये क्राइटेरिया सेट कर दिया कि वी ओनली नीड टू सेलेक्ट द फीमेल स्टूडेंट्स इन दिस पर्टिकुलर पॉपुलेशन. सो द चांस ऑफ अ मेल स्टूडेंट टू बी सेलेक्टेड would be 0. So it comes under non-probability sampling. This method is often used when it is challenging or impractical to obtain a random sample. कुछ अगर ऐसे population में हमें research करनी है जो easily available ना हो. For example, if you're conducting a research upon prostitutes, आपको prostitutes अब इतने easily तो मिलेंगे नहीं. So you need to go for a sampling method that would come under non-probability sampling. इस method को हम बोलते हैं snowball sampling, but we'll understand this in the upcoming video. But today, in part 1 of sampling methods, we will be discussing about 5 types of probability sampling. First is simple random sampling. Second is stratified random sampling. Third is systematic sampling. Then cluster sampling. And then finally the multi-stage sampling. Quick tip, you can join our Telegram and WhatsApp channels to stay updated with various government notifications, practice questions, current affair updates, and all the other information in the world of psychology. So let's continue with the topic. The first is simple random sampling. Let us understand this with an example. If you're conducting a research between two batches of the same department in your university, let's call it first and second year students studying in B.Ed psychology, you would simply pick a bunch of people. Let's say that there are 100 students in each batch and you have selected 50 from each batch. So the chance of one person to be selected would be 1/2. This is called simple random sampling. Moving forward with stratified random sampling. Now let us say that there are two universities we are conducting research on. We cannot simply pick up a bunch of people randomly as we did in simple random sampling, because there are students of different departments, different groups and different interests. So what would we do? We would make stratas. Strata is nothing but a subgroup in our population, and then we would pick required number of people from each group or each strata. That is stratified random सैम्पलिंग, यहाँ पर बेसिकली हमने रैंडमली ही अपने पॉपुलेशन को चूज किया, बट स्ट्रेटास के फॉर्म में। हमने स्ट्रेटा बनाया पहले, सब ग्रुप्स बनाए पहले, और उसके बाद हम उसमें से रिक्वायर्ड नंबर ऑफ पीपल को हमने चूज किया। नाउ let's talk about systematic sampling. Systematic sampling is a sampling technique that uses a predetermined system to select the participants from a target group. Like here is a bunch of people and I'm selecting every second person in this group, like 2, 4, 6, 8 and so on. Now it is relatively very simple and easy to implement, and it is applicable when a list of population is available. हमारे पास एक list of population है, हम इससे हर एक दूसरे person को select करते हैं हमारा sample बनाने के लिए. Now there is a disadvantage too. It would turn up as a potential bias if there is a pattern in the list. For example, let's say कि अगर हमारे list में हर second person एक female है, so it would eradicate the chance for a man to be selected in a sample. ये क्या हो गया? एक sampling bias हो गया. So this is what systematic sampling is. Now coming up with cluster sampling. Now a cluster sampling involves dividing a population into clusters and then randomly selecting a sample of these clusters. मतलब हमारे पास एक population है, हमने उसको various clusters पे divide कर लिया और फिर उस clusters को हमने randomly select कर लिया. तो students को usually एक कॉमन सा डाउट आता है इस केस में कि स्ट्रेटिफाइड सैम्पलिंग और क्लस्टर सैम्पलिंग में डिफरेंस क्या है? व्हाट्स द डिफरेंस बिटवीन क्लस्टर सैम्पलिंग एंड स्ट्रेटिफाइड रैंडम सैम्पलिंग? नाउ द की डिफरेंस बिटवीन टू इज इन स्ट्रेटिफाइड सैम्पलिंग यू पिक sample from each subgroup, ensuring representation of all identified characteristics. But in cluster sampling, you sample entire clusters, potentially leading to greater diversity within these clusters, but less diversity within clusters. अब समझना इस बात को. Stratified sampling में हमने अलग अलग सब ग्रुप्स बनाए और हर एक स्ट्राटा से हमने रैंडमली लोगों को सिलेक्ट कर लिया. लेकिन यहाँ पर देखो, हमने यहाँ पर भी अलग अलग क्लस्टर्स बनाए, बट अभी हमने क्लस्टर्स को एंटायरली सिलेक्ट कर लिया अपने सैंपल के लिए. Catering to the needs of all psychology aspirants, our detailed notes will provide a better insight of the topic. So make sure to watch the video till the end to get free access to those notes. Moving forward with multi-stage sampling. In multi-stage sampling, or we can say multi-stage cluster sampling, you draw a sample from a population using smaller and smaller group at each stage. For example, this is your population. Now you have made a smaller subgroup out of this population, and out of those subgroups, you are again dividing your subgroups into much smaller groups. इसका example एक और हो सकता है कि अगर आप एक country को लो, आप उस country में से randomly कुछ states को select करो, फिर उस states में से आप रैंडमली कुछ स्कूल्स को सिलेक्ट करो और फिर उस स्कूल्स में से आप रैंडमली कुछ क्लासेस को पिक कर लो एज अ सैंपल. सो दैट वुड कम अंडर मल्टी-स्टेज सैम्पलिंग. मल्टी-स्टेज सैम्पलिंग कंबाइंस एडवांटेजेस ऑफ डिफरेंट सैम्पलिंग मेथड्स व्हिच वुड बी ऑब्वियसली सूटेबल फॉर कॉम्प्लेक्स स्टडी डिजाइन्स. लेकिन एक सबसे बड़ा डिसएडवांटेज इसमें ये आता है दैट इट वुड इंक्रीज योर कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी इन प्लानिंग एंड एग्जीक्यूशन. सो दैट्स ऑल फॉर टुडेज लेक्चर. वी हैव डिस्कस्ड ऑल द सैम्पलिंग मेथड्स दैट कम अंडर प्रोबेबिलिटी सैम्पलिंग. इन द फर्दर videos, we will be discussing all the sampling techniques that come under non-probability sampling. To get the complimentary lecture notes, make sure to check the link given in the description. And if you have any doubt, you can mail us at ourpsychologic@gmail.com. We'll reply to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching.